Now we start with Ukraine. Ukraine's military says it has struck Russia's Ryazan oil refinery on Wednesday, sparking a fire. The facility, operated by Rosneft, has been targeted several times this year as part of Ukraine's attacks on Russian energy infrastructure. Simultaneously, Ukrainian attacks cut power to over 16,000 residents in Kursk region. Debris from downed drones also caused fires in industrial areas near Ryazan. Russia has said that its air defenses shot down 16 drones over Ryazan and 65 across the country. This comes as Ukrainian President Zelenskyy met with Turkish President Erdogan in Ankara. Turkey has offered a platform for continued talks, while Kremlin indicated President Putin is open to discussions with the US and Turkey. Adding on, US delegation is in Kyiv to review proposals and verify facts on the ground. Now for this discussion, we welcome retired Major General Sudhakarji. He's a senior geopolitical and strategic defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Major General Sudhakarji, for joining us again. Good to see you. Major General, thank you. Major General, what are we to make of the current situation while these attacks escalate even on energy infrastructures? We're seeing that U.S. delegations are visiting Kyiv, and then Zelenskyy is in Turkey discussing peace. But Russia, where is Russia, and why is Russia not there? But also, whatever comes out of these talks, is it realistically feasible, the peace, or whatever comes out of this? What are we to make whatever comes out of this if Ukraine and Russia are not present in the same table?
Asoma, good evening. Thank you for getting me for your show.
Thank you.
Coming straight to the question, last part first, the quick answer is no. All the stakeholders should be present across the table. They should talk it out if they want to have some meaningful and lasting peace roadmap. So at the moment, all I can say is that at least some effort is going on to bring peace. That is the silver lining. And for that effort to fructify in the direction of a lasting peace, some struggle is being made, because there is no defined, cutout, established solution to find peace. Almost everything is being tried out. Actually, the biggest victim, if you ask me, is that the correct diagnosis of the problem is not being done. If you diagnose the correct problem, like a patient goes to a doctor, doctor has an option to either diagnose the disease or the symptom. If he diagnoses symptom and prescribes a medicine, well, that will give you a temporary cure. If he diagnoses the disease and gives the medicine accordingly, it will be a lasting or permanent cure. So what is it that we are looking for? Are we genuinely looking for some peace? The short answer is no. So for the first part of your question, I think I have answered. If you have something else to come back to, please come back. Otherwise, I have something to add from my side.
Yes, Major General, you may add on, please.
Yeah, so you see now the geopolitical churn in the world order, to my understanding, is gradually taking a turn towards some kind of stabilization, whether it is towards the Middle East or towards the Central Europe. Donald Trump has had a grind of past 9 months, and there is also a lot of clamor and noise being made about the Epstein file in the USA. The USA economy is in doldrums. The inflation is going up because they wanted to contain it at 2%. Now I believe it has gone up to 3%. The GDP percentage growth is also coming down, and the debt is increasing. So they are in a thick soup, and they are unable to show substantive progress as per the commitment made during the campaigning season. Saudi Arabia may be an exception, but commitment and doing things on ground are two different things. 48 F-35s to be bought from USA Lockheed Martin is a good commitment by Saudi Arabia. There is a long-term perspective which is being shown towards indicating towards realization of Abraham Accord. There is also a perspective which is coming in which indicates clearly that America is back to the race again, trying to push out China's influence in Middle East and elsewhere in the world, and also keep an eye on China and Russia so as to contain and counter and contest if need be. So these are the dynamics which are moving on. But the silver lining, I would say, that some sincere effort is going in despite all negativities and the reverse dynamics towards lasting peace in Middle East and also in Central Europe. When I talk about the Central Europe, your question pertains to Ukraine and Russia. At least there is an endeavor. There is a track two kind of a dialogue which is in progress with the stakeholders, that is Russia and Kiev, Ukraine, and the people who are driving it obviously are from USA, but off and on I keep hearing about Turkey and also some representatives from Europe, and be that as it may, the reality are the following. The realities are, will Putin ever forego the 20% of the land that it has captured from 24th of April 2022? The short answer is no. If Putin does not accept foregoing this 20% of land, then how is the peace going to be negotiated? And if Putin does not accept, will Zelenskyy or Ukraine accept the loss of 20%? That amounts to actually the loss of sovereignty and integrity of territorial integrity of a country. That can only happen if Parliament ratifies the loss. And Parliament will ratify only if the leader, who's the leader now? Does Zelenskyy have a locus standi as a leader? He has already completed his presidential tenure. Is he on a kind of a loaned time frame? Does he have the sanctity? If he doesn't have, has the cabinet or the parliament of Ukraine extended the sanctity of a president of this country to sign documents and also the peace proposals? So these are the questions which will keep coming up. Till such time there is a substantive way forward coming through, these kind of bickerings and exchange of fire will continue at the energy centers, as you have alluded to in your preamble. And energy center, because it is peak of winter, now in the cold, actually the offensive is unlikely to actually rest in peace. They will continue to keep encroaching into each other's territory. Majorly Russia will try to have maximum gain and advantage, because if at all peace comes, then on the negotiating table, Russia is going to have a better bargaining chip in his favor. Back to you, please.
Yes, Major General Sudhakarji. Please stay with us as we stay on this topic now. Thank you for sharing that. Now we stay on this topic. Ukraine and Russia have carried out a new exchange of bodies, with Kyiv receiving 1,000 and Moscow reportedly getting 30 people. Ukrainian authorities have said that investigators will examine the remains to identify them. Such swaps, along with prisoner exchanges, have been ongoing since Russia-Ukraine war, which began in February 2022. Peace talks, however, remain stalled with the last face-to-face meeting held in July in Istanbul. Separately, European nations opposed a US-backed peace plan that could require Ukraine to cede territory and partially disarm, moves seen by Kyiv allies as risking capitulations. Previous exchanges have sometimes been disorderly, and Ukraine has accused Russia of returning bodies incorrectly, which Moscow denies. Now we welcome back retired Major General Sudhakarji. He's a senior geopolitical and strategic defense expert. Thank you very much, Major General, for staying with us. As you were highlighting and the legitimacy of current Zelenskyy's government, or President Zelenskyy, what are we to make of all the corruption charges, or all the, the scandal that's coming out of now, while Zelenskyy is touring internationally to ask for more aid and a peace with Russia?
Yeah, there are multiple angles to the answer to your question. One of the angle is firstly the legitimacy. He doesn't hold the legitimacy of his appointment as a president. So what happens? How is he going around asking for aid and military assistance. Well, who else in absence of Zelensky? Who is the next leader? Is there any leader in Zelensky worth his name who can play this role? He may have been a comedian earlier, but I think he's done a commendable job. He's held the nation together and he has prevented a further onslaught of Russian armed forces aggression or ingress into Ukraine. 20% is fine. 20% out of 20% which is under occupation of Russia, I would say a large percentage, 15 to 17% was already under its domination, may not be occupation. And because they have this 30% of Russian speaking people are belonging to the Donbas region. So having said that, all I would say in response to your question is that he's definitely going around trying to marshal support and harness support from all like-minded countries, particularly Europe and USA. Behind all this, there is a hidden agenda of a deep state of America. And that hidden agenda is that this conflict should not come to an end. The proxy war must continue. Ukraine will be, as it is totally gone, devastated. There is nothing left in Ukraine today. And there are no people available to feed the armed forces. I really don't know how the armed forces are going to continue in absence of soldiers on the ground. Is it only the standoff attack by means of missiles and drones and the boots on ground which are being sponsored by outside agencies, other countries, or it is going to be a mere striking the logistic basis and the command, control, and communication centers. Thereby, you incapacitate or you decapitate the leading heads, decision makers of Russia. That is how you keep them at bay and do not allow them to further ingress. So it is a matter of time which is going to tell us. But in the current times, the criticality as far as Zelensky is concerned is not the legitimacy, is to
Yes.
hold the Russians where they are now. They
Yes.
should not be allowed to come ahead of that line. It should not be 20%, should not become 21 or 25%. That is one as per my understanding. The only way to do is going for the frontal attack for which Ukraine does not have adequate resources. Therefore, it has to make Russian forces recoil from behind, hit the tail, hit the logistic bases, hit the command, control, communication centers and the leadership, hit the decision-making modules. That is how it will make Russia recoil and prevent it from expanding beyond 20% of the land which is under occupation. Next and last point which I have is that Zelensky going around and begging for the martial support, the military support, is actually, he's not playing to the gallery. He's basically trying to discharge the mandate which has been outlined to him by the Western alliances. Western alliances do not want this conflict to end.
Yes.
And if at all it comes to an end, they will continue to have that false flag operation so that the finger continues to point at Russia. They will keep blaming Russia and
Yes.
prepare something eventually so that they can launch a counter offensive